You're going to love this because this is exactly a real-life Hoosiers, all right? Remember when Gene Hackman at the end of that game, throughout the whole – so he starts with a team, right? Think about this. This is awesome. You guys will all love this. He's got a team, but he's looking for a shooter. So he goes out and he finds Jimmy Chitwit, right? And he doesn't want to play. He's an unbelievable shooter. He's just got the perfect form. He's Larry Bird. He's just money. And he doesn't – so they find Gene Hackman gets him to play, and he makes their team special. And let's fast forward. They move to the championship game in the big gym, and he measures out the same gym. They get to the end, and he makes a play up for anybody but Jimmy because he says they're going to double team you or triple team you. You're not going to get the ball. We'll give it to so and so, and all the other players are kind of like they're looking around like, oh man, like.
You are listening to the Bridging Impact Podcast, transforming leaders on and off the court with host, Coach Furtado. Without further ado, let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bridging Impact Podcast. Today, I have here an old man with a ring is the joke we got going on here. He is Little League World Series champion coach, Danny Boehle. Welcome to the show, Danny.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks for having me. Look forward to it. Stoked to be on the show, and hopefully we'll get the work done that we need to get done.
Absolutely. So let's dive right in here. Before we talk about the journey and what it's been like, with the team, for you and your life and growing up, how has sports made an impact for you?
So, I was lucky. I grew up in Venice, California. I believe we're 7 generations now. Venetians is what we call ourselves. And my mom's side was very musical and very famous back in the 70s and 80s, and her name's still kind of famous today. And then my dad came from Brooklyn, New York, and he was more of the athletic side that brought in the sports. So having sports and then having music, it's just the life of your soul is so taken away from music, and it's also bringing in sports kind of makes it that melting pot of just incredible get away from life and enjoy life and smile and happy and run and laugh and cry. It gives you everything there because obviously music soothes the soul, and obviously sports gets you out of whatever problems you may be in just because you just don't think of anything other than whether you're shooting a basket or hitting a baseball or throwing a touchdown. So sports in my life has been key to where I'm at nowadays in my life, socially and from coordination standpoint and from life. It's life lessons that I've learned all through my sporting career of how to make things happen and how winning's not always the way it is, and how true mental toughness in sports is how you create, is what's created, not just I'm going out here to play, I'm going out here to win. I don't ever have goals. I have missions. And so sports has been an incredible part of my life. And from elementary school to middle school to high school, I played them all. Basketball, I never played football, tackle football, but played flag. But played every sport, and every one, I just learned so much from the coaches that are out there teaching, because that's the most important thing, is that you're learning something and not just playing something. And so sports is a key to life for me, and that's probably why I'm hopefully going to live to be 100, because I play so many sports and I love it so much.
Exactly. We're all in the leagues, and there's so much that you said that we can dive into. And what I'm curious about is you talk about you are mission driven, not necessarily goal driven. And I'm curious, as you have all these different experiences playing all these different sports, was there a coach that you in particular learned that from?
I'm a big John Wooden fan. I'm an old school guy. John Wooden never talked about winning, ever. He talked about the process, and he was meticulous on certain small thing, how you tie your shoes, how you put on your shoes. Like there was nothing about winning. He talks about do you scout teams? And he would say, why would I scout a team? They have to play us. They have to play me anyways. You can look all you want, but every game is different. Every time you go out and play a sport, you're not going to play the same. Yeah, you might hit the same shot or three-pointer, or you might hit a baseball out once a day. You might strike out 3 times in a game. You just never know. So when I talk about goals are you meet goals and you stop. Right? Missions last forever. True mastery lasts forever. Can never stop. Once I have a goal, hey, I want to win an NCAA championship. Well, I win an NCAA championship. Well, that's my goal. Now you stop. Like, are you going to get any better if you say, hey, I want to win a bunch of championships? Maybe. Bottom line is missions don't ever have an end to them. Missions are missions, and there's goals within that mission. For us, for example, the World Series, our mission was to win the World Series. But our goals were to get through districts, sectional, state, regions, and then obviously the World Series.
100%. And yet, yeah, as we kind of segue into that, and I feel like as a mission as a coach is right much more and even beyond winning the World Series. Can you talk about your mission as a coach when it comes to just, teaching these young kids life lessons?
So I teach, that's exactly what I do. Everything I do when I teach baseball, I'll just speak about baseball because that's what we did this last 2 months. I teach life lessons. So everything I do, I relate it not only to the actual present day of baseball, but I relate it to longevity of, hey, this works for school too. It works for your teachers. It works for your parents. It works for your significant others if you have one. It's all based on life, which is a never-ending. Some people struggle, some people battle, some people don't have to, but it's a never-ending or ongoing situation you'll have until you leave this earth. And everything we do, I preach family, especially in a team sport. And again, not just family on the baseball field, but man, you got family in school, you got family at your house, you got family of relatives and siblings and uncles and aunts. Like, listen and learn and understand. And so it's so important to me about coaching in a manner that means something to these kids as they move on in their life. Because you as being a coach, you know this, 0.0001 of these kids that was dominating the World Series and hit 800 and had 6 home runs, will be in a Division I scholarship school. It's just the way life is. Kids get stronger, kids get better. Now you're going to high schools and colleges where there's 3 kids competing for your spot and they've worked harder than you. Like, life is not just, hey, you're talented and you're going to go and play. Life to me is you can't teach height. You can't teach growth. That's just given talent, right? But it doesn't take talent to be a good teammate. It doesn't take talent to give effort. It doesn't take talent to respect your coaches. And that's the same with life. It doesn't take talent to respect your teachers. It doesn't take talent to give effort when you're doing homework. It doesn't take talent to tell someone you love them. It doesn't. You make your choices. So I preach a lot on that, life lessons. And I think no matter if you lose a game or win a game and you're gone on that path, you win no matter what. Characteristics, personality. People want to be around you. They want to coach with you. They want you to be, you're coachable, so they want you on their team. So we win no matter what, even if we would have lost the World Series this year. The kids played so strong and so hard together, and they were having fun. And that's the most important thing in sports is you got to have fun while you're doing it.
Yeah, 100%. And, I think the most important thing, especially for a youth sports coach, is, we have to measure the impact we have on our athletes, right? At the end of the day, like you said, 0.001% are going to get, let alone maybe play college baseball, college basketball. But getting a scholarship at a Division I, Division II level is even more challenging. And so much of it, like you said, is out of your control. But what is your character? How do you show up? What kind of teammate are you? And it sounds like for you, when you're, teaching these life lessons, so for me as a coach, you're kind of bringing in and when you're teaching life lessons, you're connecting it to something that they can relate to, connecting, hey, you got to show up on time, just like you want to show up on time to school, or you want to make sure that you're doing your chores and respecting, your parents. I know you are respecting me as a coach, but we have to make sure we're showing that for teachers and our parents.
Yeah, no, you're spot on how I do things. And look at 10 years old, they don't want to hear that. All they want to do is hit home runs and throw hard, or shoot 3-pointers and dunk, and then they can't dunk at 10, or maybe there's someone that can. But bottom line is, I had 3 years with these kids. So the more I push them to their limits and their potentials, and to tell them that I don't care if you make errors, I want you to fail. I said, as soon as you learn about failure, you will become super dangerous in life. Like when you understand that it's okay to fail, and it's okay to make errors, or to strike out 5 times or 6 times. I mean, I'll give examples. So I don't know if you know this, but Reggie Jackson was Mr. October. Everyone remembers him for his home runs, right? In October, and the big home run hitter. Well, no one remembers. To this day, he leads the Major League Baseball history in strikeouts. To this day. Thomas Edison, 9,900. Oh, I told you this at the speech. The 999 inventions failed. The 1,000th one was the light bulb. Like, failure is how you become successful. You got to learn from failure. And it's the same thing with sports. And baseball is a huge sport of failure. I mean, 1 out of 3 is a Hall of Fame career, and that's a F in high school, or whatever school you're going to, is 33%. And F from shooting free throws is 33%. And so there's a lot to be taught. And the more you do it to someone, and the more you do it, have years and years and years, I think it resonates in these kids after a while. And this last year, as we got to the 12-year-olds at 10, trying to teach them, I have a bunch of sport mottos like do today what others don't, so you can accomplish what others can't, kind of stuff. Well, this year, every single one of those kids knew that slogan by heart, and so it's kind of cool to watch them play. Every single one of those kids, I teach leadership, and this year they finally trusted me that they could just talk to me and speak their mind. The last couple of years, they were just quiet. Be like, God, someone step up and be a leader. Don't, because I know when I turn my back, and I'm sure you get this too, but when you turn your back and walk away after yelling at the kids, or after being more of a disciplinarian, not necessarily yelling and raising your voice, but just saying something that they don't like, because I always tell kids what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. But when you turn your back, they'll look at their friend and say, screw that guy, or he doesn't know what he's talking about. But this year, I didn't have that as much. And I think what happened was they trusted how we coached together, and how we played together, and how no matter what, we were always going to have each other's back. So yeah, it means so much to go along that path of life lessons, family, unity, love. And, you got to adapt too. You got to adapt to each kid's personality. How are you going to get the best out of each kid?
100%. And I think, the ability to respond to failure is just a critical component to being successful in life, right? Like, for, this, and, just to say the podcast, right? Like my first couple of podcast interviews, they were terrible. I mumbling my words, asking 25 questions at a time, right? But each one, right, I am able to, kind of practice my listening skills, practice the art of being able to ask that question. And even more importantly for them, how they respond to when they get told no on a job or college that they want to go to, right? How are they going to respond? And those are the lessons that they are learning. And I'm, kind of curious, in this, run, and I know you've got the opportunity to coach this team for a couple of years before, and that coming together and gelling has really probably helped them get better. But were there some times and moments in games where, some of your better players had failed, or maybe there was a loss that kind of sparked, resilience within the team?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, we were 44-6 over 3 years, so we had losses for sure. Yeah, there was a moment. I mean, Brody Brooks struck out 3 times in a game, and he was hit 800 in the World Series, or 97. But again, we put ourselves in situations, and thank God we did, because I don't think going into any tournament or any, baseball games, whatever you were playing, not knowing what it's like to be down, and you wouldn't know how to finish that, or you wouldn't know what to expect. Like, for instance, we played Sherman Oaks at 10 years old. They had not lost a game all year, and I think they won every game by 10 runs. Well, they went up against us, and long story short, they lost, but they didn't know how to handle it because they hadn't dealt with adversity. They haven't dealt with a loss. They hadn't dealt with a certain thing. So it's kind of like, oh my God, this team's we don't know how to come back from. Like, so we had that throughout the whole run for 3 years. At 10 years old, we were down 8-3 in the last inning, and a team that we were way better than. And we came back and scored 13 runs in the last inning, went on to win state that year. That was the very first tournament. That was districts, not state. So when you have that experience and you see players that, so we have 12 great players. We had 13 in the past. This year was 12. When someone doesn't do their job here at the top of the lineup, someone's usually picking them up at the back of the lineup, and vice versa. So that's the way we kind of figured it out. And like I said, I preached it for 3 years. I told them at some point to each kid, I said, you are going to be important to this ball club. Do your job. You'll be fine. At some point, you're going to be a hero here. We're going to need you to step up to this plate. Today is not your day. And so when you give them that kind of confidence and that feeling of like, not, hey, you suck every time you struck out. I mean, I had a kid that struck out, I think 10 straight times on All-Stars, right? That's not fun, right? He's crying, crying. And he's a travel ball kid, and he's a good player, but he's just not doing well right now. He's in a slump. And he comes up in the second to the game before this World Series against Seattle, and he hits the winning run in. Like, that's exactly the thing I'm trying to tell you guys. It's okay to fail, but you're going to make us win that game because you made that last hit. And so adversity and failure, we went through a lot, and it made us a lot stronger of a team. And even when we lost, it was kind of funny. Like, we knew we were going to come back and win again because it was double elimination tournament. So if we were to lose one, we still had another chance. But even when we lost at 11 years old, they looked at each other and said, hey, we had a good run. Today wasn't our day. And that's hard. That's a very unique brain for an 11-year-old to have, to say that to other kids. And so that's what I loved, is to see the development of what we're creating at an early age, to where they're going to be so much better than other people that are just being coached and just being told to run patterns, or telling to run a full man press, full court press, or man-to-man, or zone. Like, no, teach something that they'll resonate later in life of why they're doing what they're doing, and how that's going to make their life better.
100%. And I think one of the key themes that I hear within all this is the trust that you built with your players and the trust they built with each other. And I know you briefly mentioned this at the speech that I had the opportunity to listen to. And I'd love for you to expand on for the audience in terms of, there's a lot of influences for young athletes, whether they're, in Little League or they're on my team and they're freshmen. They have these parent voices or social media. However, a lot of times, you're continuing to pour into them and build that trust. And so I'm curious how you make sure that trust is built with you, and you help them kind of block out that outside noise of mom and dad saying, you struck out 3 times, and they may not be as encouraging in the car as you are. I'm just curious how we continue to encourage our athletes when we can't control the outside noise that they hear.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know if I have my answer. I don't know if it's the correct answer. There may or may not be one, but parents are hard to control in youth sports, especially when they're still growing. The kids are still growing, and everyone's parent still thinks my son's the best and needs to be out there. And we all have gone through that one way or another. Just on a side note, I stopped that at the very beginning by having a meeting and I explained to them how, if I was at your house and I was telling you how to parent your kid, how would you like it? And they said that wouldn't be something we would like. And I said, that's fine. Then don't tell me how to coach. So once you kind of lay that out, right, that stops the parents from talking to you. The only thing is it doesn't stop the parents from talking to their kids and what they're saying to other kids. So I don't know if I have an answer for that, but what I do is I give my all to each kid separately if they need it. So again, I adapt to personalities. There's personalities you don't need to adapt to. There's some that I can say the same thing to you and raise my voice and you get the best out of it. I can say the same thing and sugarcoat it because that kid doesn't get the best out of it if I'm yelling at him. So he's gonna check out if I yell at him. This kid's gonna be fine with it. So you learn who can and who can't and how to. That's the difference. How do I get my point across to this kid? Because he's not getting it like the others. Like, what's going to make him click? And that's the different side of like true mental like warfare with how you can make these children better and how these kids get better is by, showing them, giving them a hug, telling them you love them, right? An outsider telling them you love them, not a parent, maybe they're not getting that at home. Like maybe that's something they want. So now it resonates with them and now they trust you. Now they're bringing it in. I mean, every time we broke, family, every time, baseball. I'd go out to the mound. I'd say, hey, man, you're doing great. I got to save you for a pitch count. I love you, brother. You did an unbelievable job. Go out and make me some plays in left field. Trust, love, right? They resonated with them. They gave them the opportunity to say, hey, this coach, he likes me. It's okay. I can say what's on my mind to the coach, and he's going to listen, and he's not going to say, get out of here or do this and that. There's all great coaches. Bobby Knight was a great coach for people that can deal with how he dealt with things. He was gnarly, right? John Wooden was a great coach. Pyramid of success. Trust the process. Didn't talk much about it. So, Bear Bryant on the football side. Yell, yell, yell. Lou Piniella. But then there's other great coaches, the quiet ones, the ones that understand what impact am I making on my players and the team and the city that I'm playing for. So there's a lot to be said about that. And like I said, I don't know if it's the right or wrong answer, but to know your players is to understand what you can and cannot do to them to make them get your attention and make them be better ball players and make them understand what it is that you're trying to do.
Exactly. I believe that's the art of coaching, right? There's no science or how-to manual to coach each kid, one way, right? We have to adapt. We have to get to know our players, right? How many siblings do they have? How many parents? And, how do they respond when we yell? Or do I, like you said, do I need to make sure that I'm, kind of, putting the positive sandwich, right? Or, we've heard that before. So just understanding our players so much. And I think, that's just the true art of coaching. And in this journey of coaching, these boys the last couple of years, like how is your kind of art of coaching kind of formed and evolved?
Again, having 3 years and, look I'm constantly educating myself through leadership. I have great friends that are huge in leadership and writers of books. And, I'm a big fan of chop wood, carry water. So I'm always getting better. Joshua Metcalf is a good friend of mine. He's the author and writer of obviously Win in the Dark as well. And it's all teaching you about how to get better, how to true mastery, true mental toughness, how to master your craft and not just think that talent's going to take you to that level. So I'm constantly educating myself and, not so complicated enough to where these little guys are going, what the heck is he talking about? Just enough to where I can take something, spin it into something that's 101 or something that is present in their life, whether it's a girlfriend or a homework assignment and wrap it around something like that. So at least they understand the concept of what it is I'm trying to get through to their heads. But I constantly educate myself still to this day. And there's not I could do I don't think I'd go back to the 8 and 9-year-olds, but there's not a chance. I could do a 12-year-old team and I can do a Major League Baseball team, which I've been reached out to about, but nothing's been said. But you learn how to talk to each one of those adults, to kids, and you learn what you can and cannot do and what's going to make them go. Jordan was such a unique ability. Kobe had a unique ability of going by himself. Like, how do you as a kid go out and do the things you're supposed to do without having your parent tell you to go do it? And that's what I'm trying to teach these kids to do. Hey, you could sit at home and take a tennis ball and just throw it against the garage or throw it against your wall and short hop. That's in your room. Like, it's just tennis ball. Bare hand. So always constantly trying to make these kids better. I'm getting better. They're getting better. I'm getting better on the mental side and trying to teach that. And they're getting better on both, because obviously my sports career is done. And the only thing I have is knowledge of what I've done and the career that I've had, and whether it is golf tournaments or volleyball tournaments that I played in, or even high school baseball and basketball events that I played in. But yeah, I mean, it's a constant, and I think you need to stay with these kids. If you're going to do that, you need to stay on them so that they don't forget. It's like learning a foreign language. If you don't speak it, if you learn it and don't speak it, you're going to forget it. So the more it resonates with them and the more you put into them, the better off you are. And I had motivational before every game, I would throw a motivational video, whether it was Kurt Russell playing the Miracle on Ice halftime or before they went out of the game, saying you deserve to be here, you're the best, yada 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 yada, to Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame speech, where he thanked all the people that doubted him, to fuel his fire, to put wood in that he made him better. Right? He got cut as a sophomore. He wanted to thank that coach. He thanked Byron Russell from bringing him out of retirement to say, hey, you can't play anymore and I can't guard it. Well, you know what he did in that championship with Utah Jazz. And so they all fueled his fire. And that's what I try to teach these kids is you need to go out, work by yourself, work in the dark so you can shine in the light, and that's the work in the dark you do. That's what reveals of who you are. You can't just be a 6'1", 12-year-old and think that that's going to carry you on through life here from here on out. Because now people are starting to work, but people that want it, they'll get it from you.
100%. You're teaching that intrinsic motivation, that's one of the keys, and again, pillars of life, because you graduate, you go to college, and you don't have mom or dad telling you to do your homework, right? At the end of the day,
Correct.
Like, you don't have mom or dad telling you to put in that extra hour at your internship so you can build that connection to then get a job post college. And those are the lessons that stick with them forever. And that's why I love sports so much. And I'd love for this to be a great opportunity to just share that experience and what the Little League World Series was like.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It's so growing up, we always thought we'd had a good team and we would be able to get to Williamsport. Well, we never got close. We never got a districts. We're from North Venice, which is up on the hill there off Grandview. But you see the ABC Wild World of Sports. You see Jim McKay, R.I.P. Great broadcaster, announcer, and he'd say the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, and it was always that Little League kid from Kirkland that was the pitcher that beat Chinese Taipei, and that's a great 30 by 30 special that everyone should watch. It's really neat of how it talks about a 12-year-old that's way bigger and throws way harder, but by the time he's a sophomore in high school, he's done, like not even playing sports anymore, because people bullied him, his weight, people did this and that. Now he's like he has sickness. Anyhow, watch it, it's good. But it just goes to show you certain things that if you don't keep doing them, you'll get passed up. And so to get to the World Series when I was growing up, my dad was coaching, obviously wasn't even going to happen, right? So fast forward to now, and I'm a coach. I have a son. He's 8 years old. I T-ball, and now we're doing All-Stars. And now it comes to the year where this is the time, 12-year-old time, where it doesn't stop at state. It actually goes to regions and into Williamsport, because the 10-year-old and 11-year-old doesn't. They only go to state only. That they don't go to the Williamsport. So it's only for 12-year-old, or I shouldn't say 12-year-olds only, but for majors only, which is 11 and 12. So, kids dream, like they play travel ball all year long. They go to Cooperstown and do that whole big tournament out there, and it's a big, huge history, and it's beautiful, and they hit home runs, and it's yada, yada, yada. It's awesome. It's great. But the venue that ESPN does and the broadcast and Little League and all that stuff is a whole different beast. It is awesome. It is the coolest thing. It's like you're going to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, but it's all baseball, they get free swag from Adidas and Easton and Rawlings and free food every day. And there's a game room, but remember, it's only me, the two other coaches, and the kids. All the parents have to go stay outside. So there's no parents, right? None. So imagine, and I, at least luckily I was raised in a beautiful, wonderful family that could know how to deal with sickness and love, and it's okay. And the kids getting homesick. And anyways, I'll get into that a little bit later, but it just was an incredible place that I couldn't even imagine myself getting there, let alone playing on the field, let alone winning the U.S. championship, let alone winning the world championship. Like afterwards, we have the best player on our team, one of the best 12-year-olds in the nation that plays on the number one team in the nation, travel balls wise. He was the one that hit the walk-off home run at the end. His name was Louis Lappy. He even said to me, Coach, that was the best thing I've ever done in my life. And that kid has been to Georgia, Mississippi, perfect game, select game, Olympics, da-da-da-da. But there's 40,000 people out there watching, 12-year-old kids. That's more than
so
Rams,
awesome.
Chargers, Lakers. I think the crypto holds 25. I don't even know what crypto. Anyways, it was like you're just sitting in awe of like, wow, man. And you're looking at your kids and they're so calm and they're so, no big deal. And that was cool to me to see how they developed through all the stuff that me and the two other coaches, Tim and Eddie, had been teaching them of like, hey, doesn't matter. It's just a game. Have fun. Have fun. You guys are good. You deserve to be here. You deserve to be here, right? And if it doesn't go your way, the stars don't like. So they got it. They got it all. And we'd had such a great run 2 years before, and now we're having a great run again, and everyone's happy. And so, yes, it was an incredible experience to the whole Little League. All the teams are there. The international team is there too. And, our best friends, or what became the best friends, were the Japanese. And even though you only speak two words that they know, that they say hello and goodbye, and you say konnichiwa and arigato. That's what the kids are speaking to each other. That's all they knew, but they became best friends through like fist bumps or hugs or selfies or whatever they may do. They do. And that's how you did it. Like 2 words. It's all it took, but you were best friends. So it was just an incredible cultural experience for these kids. I loved it. I loved watching how they would interact. Again, I'm not just out there to win. Winning's great, right? Winning's awesome. It is what it is. Show me a loser, I'll show you a loser. That whole mentality, I get it. But watching the kids grow and watching them develop and watching them do what the adult players do in the major leagues, signing autographs every day for people, all day long, no matter if you were the last player on the team or the best player on the team, everyone was signing 5,000 autographs, like gnarly, especially in the streets. We'd walk around. You're the West, and the West obviously gets a lot more notoriety because of what we've done in the past at that tournament. We've won it, I think, 8 out of the last, or no, not 8, maybe 4 out of the last 6 years, 7 years, Hawaii being the team. But anyhow, it was an incredible experience. And if you ever get a chance to go, or anyone listening gets a chance to go to Little League World Series, it's all free. You don't have to pay for tickets. You just on the weekends, you have to have a ticket, but the whole week you just walk in and sit down in the stadium and, enjoy the games. Like you don't get charged. You got to pay for food, obviously, but it's unbelievable. It's just, and the fields are spectacular. Just really cool.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. I'm really glad you kind of went into the in-depth and the details and the cultural experience. I mean, you can't make that up, right? And it's just like so cool how it really brings kids together, globally, right? And you're able to connect and interact and just have that, that's an experience they'll for sure remember for the rest of their life. So, with that, what did you say to them before the big game? What was the message? Is it the same? And, I know you talked about how they deserve it, but, there's always got to be a little bit of extra nerves on TV, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, honestly, Justin, I don't think these kids understand what they just did. Still to this day, I think we get together in 20 years at a reunion and they have kids now or they're married now, if I'm still alive, then they'll realize what this means. But they all were so like, I mean, they're not nervous. They weren't nervous at all, which I know sounds like I'm not telling you the truth, but I was shocked at how calm they were and how it's just another game. It's just another, but there were certain games. So there's certain things that as a coach, I never let them do antics. I don't let them dye their hair. I don't let them put war paint on their face. I don't let them do shows and antics like doing the sword if you strike someone out, or like everyone's doing it. I get it. Everyone does it out there. You're not doing that under my watch. So were they all upset? Like, coach, can we at least? Nope, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. So one thing that motivates me to motivate them is when other teams were doing certain things like that. So the teams that we were going to play, for example, there was one team that made a mockery of the game. In my opinion, they took a ghost infield, and that fired me up to say, hey, that's disrespectful to the game of baseball. They're showing off something that has nothing to do with baseball. They just want people to. It was like a circus, right? And we weren't there for a circus. We were there to win a ball game. And so I turned to my kids. I said, "Come here, everybody, come here." And I'm mic'd up, and I think Carl Ravitch heard me, whoever was doing the ESPN stuff. But I said, "You see what they're doing out there?" And they're like, "Yeah, coach, what is that?" I'm like, "It's disrespecting the game of baseball." You know what we do to people that disrespect the game of baseball? "Yeah, coach, we beat them." Damn right. So there's certain things for motivation, and I'm super emotional. I cry all the time, right? They see me cry all the time since they were 10 years old, right? And so when we'd win games and I'd cry out of sheer joy, and I think that resonated in them too, to know like, hey, coach is solid. Coach is not afraid. Coach is not afraid to let his feelings show. Coach is not afraid to let his emotions show. Most guys don't want to cry. Most guys think it's weakness. I think it's great. The great Jim Valvano always said, before he passed away, cancer, he said, when you can laugh and you can cry and you can think in one day, that's a full day, brother. And so I always live vicariously through those kind of certain motivational words or sentences that people have said in the past, because it's true. Laugh, cry, it's okay. Think, understand, do certain things. And so again, seeing me coach and seeing how I react, seeing how I can fire them up, whether it was a motivational speech from Micah Ruzioni or George Brett that were sending LeBron would send us messages all the time, and David Wright, Mookie, Freddie, list goes on and on. Would show, hey, I want you to see this video from Lars Nootbaar. I want you to see what they did at Angel Stadium. I want you to see what Mike Trout said to you. So just certain things, and then I would ask him questions. How do you feel? What do you think about what he just said? He just said, have fun. How many times have I told you, have fun, guys? Have fun. Love each other. Play as a family. So it's just coming from all parts to that one center core. Everyone had the same message. And so I didn't need to, I'm a motivational guy, and so I would say certain things, but I didn't need to get them up for it. I just needed to show them how fired up I was for them to understand it's go time.
I love it. Yeah, you're finding, these different resources who share the similar message, right? And then, obviously when Mike Trout or Mookie Betts or Freddie Freeman says it, they're like, oh yeah, coach is super right, and like I've been saying the same thing all the time, but just having that extra voice. And I feel like, your players were they're calm, poised, collected, and all that experience, right? Previously from before, and also kind of just having that blissful ignorance of being 12 years old and not really, like you're talking about, know how awesome this is, but what we're doing and the accomplishment, which is just quite amazing. So, it's such a fantastic experience.
As a dad, when you have your sons on the team and you're not a goat to them. After we've won, they may call you the GOAT, or, hey, you're the GOAT Little League guy for whatever. But when they hear it coming from someone that they look up to, it makes all the difference in the world. It supports what is being taught to them already. So you're right, when they see that, it's like, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh my God, he does know what he's talking about. Michael Jordan said that. LeBron said that. Kobe said that. George Brett. So it just makes you look like the coach that they're going to want to be in their bunker when they're about to battle. They want that guy that they trust and they know. And I hope I've developed enough of those kids that somewhere down the line they say, Coach Danny was my guy. Coach Danny was like, that guy knew what he was talking about, and we believed in him. And, because everyone's different. All the coaches are different. And to me, I look at things in life, and the most selfish thing, and I say this, and you're probably going to say, how's that selfish? The most selfish thing I can do is help somebody. And why is it selfish? Because of the gratification that I get from seeing the love that they get from it. I get gratification knowing how much I meant to that person's life. So some say it's selfish. I say it's selfish, and I don't do it out of, hey, I'm going to do this. I do it out of the trust and out of the heart that I have, out of the passion that I have. I don't do it to get it. I do it because I believe in it. And when I get that back, I feel like, wow, man, that's priceless. I can have all the money in the world, all the cars in the world. I'll never have that heart that I just heard from that kid that I had coached. Like, that's pretty special.
I love that. There is really no better feeling than watching them grow, develop, and knowing the positive impact and influence we have. And so, as my final question in the 9th inning, 2 outs of this podcast, I would just want to, last final words for the parents, coaches, other audience members that are listening that want to have an impact on the athletes that they work with. And, and it's so much more than winning.
Yeah. Take winning out of the process and deal with the mental side of all the sports. But you're going to love this because this is exactly a real life Hoosiers. All right. Remember when Gene Hackman at the end of that game throughout the whole, so he starts with a team, right? Think about this. This is awesome. You guys will all love this. He's got a team, but he's looking for a shooter. So he goes out and he finds Jimmy Chitwit, right? And he doesn't want to play. He's an unbelievable shooter. He's just got the perfect form. He's Larry Bird. He's just money. And he doesn't. So they find Gene Hackman gets him to play, and he makes their team special. And let's fast forward. They move to the championship game in the big gym, and he measures out the same gym. They get to the end, and he makes a play up for anybody but Jimmy because he says they're going to double team you or triple team you. You're not going to get the ball. We'll give it to so and so. And all the other players are kind of like they're looking around like, oh man, like, no man, Jimmy. And then Jimmy looks at him and says, "Hey, coach, I can make it," right? Remember that point. And then he goes out and makes a shot. So at the 9th inning, Lewis comes into the dugout, and I grab him by his shoulders, and I say, "Son, they're probably going to walk you," which I would have walked the guy. Like, I don't want one guy beating me, right? So I said, "They're probably going to walk you. They're going to put you on base. But if they don't throw, don't chase, don't let them throw a couple curveballs, and you're chasing because you're nervous," right? And he goes, "Coach." And I go, "What?" And he goes, "I got this," right? It's very similar to what I just explained about the story. And if those of you who haven't seen Hoosiers, go see it. It's a great basketball movie. So he goes up, right? And I'm already in awe of like, that's where his mind is. And he's so unique that I can get into a whole nother side 2-hour story with him. But he's as good as a mind that you'll get at this age that I've ever seen in my life. And, they throw a curveball and he doesn't chase. I'm like, wow, they're really going to pitch to him. And I actually have a mic and I go, "Hey, Carl, if they throw to him and they try to strike him out, he's going to hit this ball out." And lo and behold, that pitcher, threw it down the middle, and the rest is history. I mean, you can't do that to that kid. The back side story to that is, and it goes back to what I was talking about earlier about you let someone else talk about how good you are. You don't have to tell people what you can and cannot do and how much you're worth or da-da-da-da-da. So during the week, right, international plays international, U.S. plays U.S. And then once the winner comes out of the U.S. bracket, and then you play each other. So you don't play international until you meet at the win. So the whole week, that pitcher is talking smack to my players in a fun, nice way, but he's super confident and cocky and, have at it, man. If you want to have that ego, probably not going to get you much down the line. It's going to get you in trouble, right? Especially if something bad happens. And so he's saying to Lewis and Brody and not Lucas, "I'm going to strike you out. You guys aren't nothing. You guys are no good, and I'm going to beat you." And I'm like, yeah, you're not going to play him unless you meet in the finals anyways. And so the whole week goes by, and lo and behold, we meet him. And lo and behold, he goes into that game, and he's pitching. And he throws the home run ball to Lewis. Lewis hits it out. And food for thought for all you coaches out there of just to me, I think that kid, he took all 11 kids out of the equation and said, I'm going to beat their best player. I'm going to blow it by him. And he purposely, or not purposely, personally tried to win that game, and he tried to be a stat guy. Hey, I'm an individual. I'm going to win it myself. And that cost his team the World Series by him trying to show up and say he was the baddest out there, not my guy. And that's not how you play baseball. It's not how you coach baseball. You got to get rid of all that stuff. So just goes to show you that when you talk, you better talk the talk, because if you don't walk that talk, you might not have a life for sports after that.
And life is a team game. I think that's such an incredible story to leave it off on. And I really appreciate you coming on and sharing all the wisdom and also the great stories along with it as well. Where can people, find and reach out to you if they want to hear more about the inspirational story?
You know what? I mean, I speak at a lot of stuff, and I mean, I don't do social media. I never have. I'm an old soul. I think I have a Facebook account. I don't look at it much. I definitely don't have a Twitter account. If I do, I don't know about it, but I probably need to look more into it with all the stuff that's starting to happen. Danny Boehle at Hotmail. That's how old I am. Danny Boehle at hotmail.com is where you can find me and ask me a question or whatever. But yeah, man, I'm here to share with anyone else that wants to listen. If that can make them better, great. But yeah, life is too short to go on and not serve other people. I aspire to make a living, but I also aspire to make a difference.
I love it. There's no better way to end it. Thank you so much for your time today, DB.
Thanks, Coach.
For listening to this episode of the Bridging Impact Podcast. We'd love it if you would like, subscribe, leave a comment and a review on whatever platform you're on. It's the best way to help us grow. We appreciate you for doing that. We'll shout you out on social media. I'd also love if you connected with me on social media. Let me know your thoughts. And this is why I do it. I want to share knowledge and wisdom from experienced leaders to people like yourself and myself, so we can have this dialogue and move forward, make an impact on the world. So stay tuned, stay subscribed. Cheers.